Hi guys, and welcome back to the Stoop Tea. So my name is Rosa Enid.
And I am Liz Santana. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. I'm gonna just jump right into it, Rosa. I need to talk to you because I have this like frustration and like stress over this. So I just recently had an experience with my 11-year-old going on 12-year-old, right? So actually it was two experiences, two full-blown like grown-up experiences that I could not tolerate and I was not prepared for. The first experience was that she's been bugging me to do her nails, to let her get her nails done for a while. And I've been telling her, no, I don't want her to put that chemical on her nail because it's going to mess up her nail. This past week, I finally give in and I was like, you know what? Fine. You want to go do your nails? I'll take you to go do your nails. So I took her to go do her nails. Oh man, like I can't tell you the nostalgia and the frustration and the sadness and the anxiety and like all the emotions going through me because I'm watching her and I'm just like, oh my God, like she's growing up and I'm just not prepared for it, right? Because totally not prepared for it. Like my mental wasn't there. Like, and people kept telling me, like, oh, she's getting there, she's getting there. And I'm like, no, she's not. No, she's not. And my brothers would be like, she's getting there. And I'm like, no, she's not. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. No, she's not. But reality slapped me in the face and said, yes, she is. So wake up. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I can't tell you the amount of emotions that were going through me. Like it was just rushing through me. And I was just like, nah, I can't. I can't. My baby's growing up. That was the first experience. Second experience was I'm at work and I got a little notification. You know how you on Instagram it shows like you could add friends or whatever. My kid pops up. And I was like, what? So I got upset because she didn't ask for permission. And I immediately call her and she's on vacation. She's with my mom. And I'm like, who told you you have permission to do that? Like, and I'm just bugging out. And then I was like, when I get home, we're going to talk. And I just like wanted to wring her neck. I hang up and she's like all scared and I could hear it in her voice. And then my coworker, my work bestie, she's like, I don't mean to like butt in or whatever. Like, well, actually we started talking about what was going on and I was explaining my frustration to my work friend. She comes like, she's like, you shouldn't act like that. You're going to make her not trust you. And you shouldn't be that impulsive. Like if it's something that upset you, try to take some time and think about it. So that's kind of like what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about the talk.
But the talk is like serious, like the talk.
Bro. Like we've had a soft talk before because she was going into junior high school. And unfortunately, nowadays kids are exposed at such early ages to so much stuff on social media that, like you're pushed. Like I feel like us parents nowadays, we're pushed to talk about it very early.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, it's frustrating. Hey, back in our day, I don't know about you, but I feel this is different. You know what I mean?
I will say, I feel like my mom had mini talks, I guess, or soft talks with me ever since I could remember. I remember like when I was really, really young, like probably 3 or 4, and she would always tell me things like, like she'll point at my boobs and she'll point at my private parts or whatever. And she'll say like, these are your privates. These are your private parts. No one should touch these things.
Right.
And if anyone puts their hands on you, you have to tell me, etc. Like I remember that. I remember being so young and her always telling me those things.
Right.
So I think that's kind of like her way of starting the talk with me.
But did she ever have the actual talks? Like, what was your experience with your mom? Like, did she actually ever have the actual talk with you? Or it was just like telling you like, oh, don't let nobody touch your private parts, or
it was,
don't.
I never had like the deep talk of like, the sex talk, but it was always about, this is your private parts. Don't let anyone touch them. They're sacred, whatever. When you get married, that's different. It was very PG-13, I guess, or PG.
Right.
Now.
Until like what age?
It was always like that, I think.
Really?
Like, I don't think she
even
ever...
until you moved out?
After that, I didn't really have there was no other talks, honestly.
So you guys you didn't really have a talk, basically.
No, to me, that was the talk. Like
Really?
because that's the only
Wow.
thing that we talked about.
Okay.
Growing up, I was always more scared of my mom being mad than my dad. My dad is like the coolest person, the chill one. I'm not scared of my dad. My mom, terrified of my mom.
I was backwards. I was backwards. I was completely backwards. Like I knew that I could talk to my mom. I knew that I could tell her anything. You know, like she was always my first. Let me tell you, when I was pregnant, that I was bricks, like literally
To tell
bricks
your dad.
to tell my parents because I first of all, like I still lived with them. So it was like I was bricks, man. Like I went to my mom first and I didn't even say nothing. I just pulled out the test and I was just like, and I didn't say anything. And I put my head down and she just looked at me. She's like, what's this? And I was like, like I was just like, that's how I felt. Like, and she looked at me and she goes, so are you pregnant? And I was like, uh-huh. And she's like, bueno. And then she just like switches up quick. She was like, bueno. She becomes all soft when I told my father, like complete opposites reactions. Like my mom was like, bueno, okay. She's like, gets into this talk. And then my dad, he just started clapping and he had the angriest face in the world. He's like, what do you want me to do? And he's clapping. And he goes, what do you want me to do? You want me to be happy about this? And I was just like, like I didn't even know a donde meterme en la cabeza, like to where to put my head.
Did you have the talk with your parents?
So it was kind of like similar to you in the sense at the moment that she knew that I understood, she's like, nobody touches this and nobody touches that. Nobody's supposed to touch that. But nobody's supposed to touch you down there. And if anybody touches you down there, you gotta let me know.
Yeah,
That was
that's
like I
exactly
was
my mom.
right. So that was like around 5 or 6. And then it was like I never actually got a sit down. I never got to sit down. My mom never sat down and said, look, she was outspoken, very outspoken. And she spoke very freely. She never kind of like sugarcoated anything, like anything in front of us. Never sugarcoated anything. She spoke very openly in front of us. It was more like, oh, you would hear her talking and doing like, the titi and the titi talk or like the bochinche talk between the tias. And she's like, see, her favorite line, my favorite line was, si dan esa chiripita y y caen preñadas o están enfermas, se jodieron, te jodiste, esa es la vida, te vas a joder la vida. So to translate that into English was, chiripita is your cookie. And she would like we would just mostly hear her saying like, oh, if you give your cookie up and you get pregnant or you get sick, that's it, you screwed your life, that's it. And that was just the talk for us. So it was never really directly to us. I never got to sit down or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be like a Latin culture thing. I don't know. Like our parents don't really have the talk. It's kind of
Oh,
like they just assume. And of course, obviously, as kids, the most I knew about sex was because I did get a sex ed class when
right.
I think I was in high school.
Right.
So I knew a little bit more because of that.
Right.
And you see things in movies, so you kind of put two and two together as a kid. You kind of um figure or assume, but you don't really like 100% like know.
Right.
Earlier when I said I was a lot more scared of my mom than my dad, I brought that
Uh,
up because you reminded me of my mom, the way that you're reacting to with things. And if that's your reaction, she's not going to come to you when real life situations that involve the talk happen to her. She won't, because she'll be
right.
too scared of how you're going to react. So you have to be very careful of how you're reacting to her, especially now she's
Right.
11. At 11, I was a really shy kid, like really, really shy. So imagine with an angry mom like mine, I would never be able to confront her or have a discussion with her, you know?
Right. The fact that I never got to sit down, first of all, I was the only female in my house. So I grew up around boys, pure boys. I was the only girl and I was the last one out of the bunch. And like but the boys obviously like ellos están en su bola, like they're doing their own thing and you whatever. So I feel like she didn't really know how to talk to me about it, because with the boys she didn't really have to talk to them about it, because either they learned it outside, or they learned they were friends, or they ellos like ¿cómo es?
Desarrollan.
Se
Yeah.
desarrollaron solo, like they developed by themselves in that category.
Yeah, that's bad too, because boys also should have the talk,
Right,
not.
right. I feel both sex should have to talk. So,
Mhm.
but what I'm trying to say is, I didn't really have that because she didn't know how. I feel like she didn't know how to. So, because I didn't have that, that affected me now, because it's intense for me now. Like at the time when I actually started exploring those things, um I had no knowledge. I didn't know a lot of things. I really didn't. I was like, I was, and I did it, and I could say that I did it at a responsible age. I was already in college by the time I did that. I was older. I understood more, uh, and all that stuff, but I still did not know a lot of things. Like a lot of people. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I didn't know the things that most people my age at the time knew.
Yeah. Well, me neither, because I was a late bloomer too. Like, not late bloomer. I don't know how to say that. Like, I had sex like in my 20s, basically. So
Right, right,
everyone else around me, like all my friends, they knew what that was and they had already
what that
experienced it.
was.
And
Right,
what I knew, it was from stories, because girls talk about that, especially when they're that young. So I think you and I, I guess, developed, I guess you could say, later in life, but we
right.
kind of had a little bit of knowledge, or at least I did, had a little bit of knowledge because of what my friends had kind of talked about. At the end of the day, that's nowhere near what they say. It's like totally not kind of what happens. Like, until you experience it, it's really like,
Right, right,
with our parents, we always assume like if you do it, you're gonna get pregnant. And then
right,
and I'm gonna be mad at you. That's basically always what I thought. And I was like,
right.
well,
That me too. Like I always thought exactly the same thing.
yeah. So I was like, well, I don't want to do that and then get, pregnant, and then my parents are disappointed in me or whatever. And I did have an aunt that I think I would talk to more than my mom about
Right,
these kind of things. Like, we would, because
right.
I was really close with my cousin and we were around the same age. So her mom was a lot more
Open about the about
yeah,
having
she
those kind
was
of
she was a little
conversations.
bit more like a friend
Right,
and your
right.
aunt, like a big sister almost.
Yes,
And
yes.
with her, I think we were a little bit more open about certain things, but she would still be like, you have to wait till you're married type of person and stuff like that. So I think because of how I grew up, I always
Right,
carried these things of whoever I do it with has to be special. They have to be special.
right,
But then
right. I grew up the same way.
here comes society, telling you
And
like,
says,
yeah,
but that's what it says.
here comes society, and then society's telling you like, oh no, like, you know that's okay, that's, you're supposed to experience that. How are you a virgin still at this age? Like, that's
Hmm.
taboo, etc. So it's almost like you kind of let those like, you have your values, yeah, but then you also have society and peer pressure and all this stuff
Right.
piled on, and you have, of course, urges and things when you're older that
And like
you,
things that you don't even urges that you don't even understand properly. Like that's the crazy
yeah.
part. Like the that you feel like you're like, and a lot of the times these are urges that for the most part like are demonized, and you're just like, you don't know how to handle them, because these are natural urges. Like these are urges that you cannot control at all.
Everyone experiences, but
Right.
they make it seem like so bad that
It does.
you
Like
don't
let me
even
tell
have the
you, even
courage to talk about it. And that was me in my 20s. And when I
right.
was in my 20s, most of my friends had already had sex. And because of that, I felt even more pressured to just get it over with when I was in my 20s, type of thing,
Right.
based on those experiences. If my mom had talked to me about her experiences with that, and like how she felt and etc. I think by her telling me personal experiences that she probably had dealt with when she was younger,
Right.
that might have made me more comfortable in coming to her about certain things, or me feeling like, oh, this is normal. I'm going to be fine waiting to
Right.
meet the
Right.
right person. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think
Well,
that with your daughter, if you maybe take the approach of maybe not 100% yet, 'cause she's just 11, but if you start kind of telling her your experiences or talk to her about when you were pregnant and how you felt and all those experiences, it'll kind of make her feel more comfortable in coming to you, or
right.
not get herself into a situation because she'll always think about you in the back of her head.
Her having an Instagram or her wanting to do her nails or her growing up has absolutely nothing to do with this, right? It doesn't have anything to do with that talk. But in a sense, it gives you that feeling that, oh my God, she's growing up. And I think that's one of like the biggest things that I fear. I can't speak on all parents because I don't know if that's the same thing as as them. But my biggest fear is having to talk about that, because or having to like discuss that with her, having to touch that topic, and having to think about that with her, and having to be scared for those things and stuff like that. Because unfortunately in adolescence, that's one of the biggest things, right? So I'm just not mentally prepared for this. And that's what contributed to me being so impulsive and so like, because she's at risk of learning so many things and there's just so many dangers out there that I'm not ready for her to see, because to me she's still a baby. I just it
Yeah.
affected me in that sense.
Yeah.
But I agree with you 100%. Like after talking about it to other moms and talking about it to you and just thinking about it in general, I did take a breath. So I didn't speak to her about it that day. I actually waited a few days before I brought it up to her, and I was able to have a conversation with her and speak to her and be way calmer. Cause at the
Yeah.
end of the day, um, because of the fact that I was never like, because of the way I was brought up, I don't want my kids to be brought up that way. I don't want my kids to think that they can't come to me and talk to me freely about that kind of stuff. And like I want to change that specific um parenting example that my parents gave me. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, I feel like my parents were amazing parents. I appreciate them. I appreciate who I am because of them. And I appreciate the parent that I am because of them and the woman that I am because of them and all the good stuff. But there's just certain departments that unfortunately, you know what, hey, parents are human. Like we make mistakes too. And we don't,
Yeah.
there's not a guidebook and there's not a university that teaches you how to be a parent.
Yeah, you learn by talking to other parents
Right, right.
and learning from their mistakes. My last thing that I want to mention is she is 11. She's trying to find out who she is. So
Right.
that's a lot of pressure already. So you want her to come to you when she has certain
Right.
questions.
Right.
And, having an Instagram at her age, I think that's a very normal thing. It's actually, I think maybe even a little late because I'm pretty sure that all her friends have Instagram by now, right?
Yeah, they
Or
do. That
TikToks,
they do.
etc.
And I even have like she even has cousins that has had Instagram and stuff. So from like 7, 6, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Listen, it already happened that she opened her Instagram without telling you. Why? Because she wanted one, but didn't want you to know. Now that you know about it, who's to say that she's not going to make a fake one?
I like to believe that she's not that sneaky. She doesn't think that way. So when I asked her, I was like, "Why didn't you ask me?" She and her genuine answer was, it didn't cross my mind. Like I didn't think it was that big of a deal because I honestly just she's like, I honestly opened it not even to post. I opened it because I like the filters.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, she's very, I don't want to say she's innocent minded, but because we don't keep her in a closet either. You know what I mean? She's very pure minded. She's very pure minded in that sense. So I don't feel like she did it in a malicious way. You know what I mean? Or because she felt like she couldn't talk to me. I feel like she just like genuinely like didn't think it was that big of a deal because so many kids around her age or even younger have it.
Your fear is that now because she's on social media, she's going to be exposed to all these things. There's also a lot of bad people online
That's another big
that,
fear, right?
but you talk to her. So if those are your fears, I think you need to talk to her about it. Like say, listen, there's a lot of men or there's a lot of people that are really bad that will try to talk to you on social media, like older men or, etc. Or people who catfish, whatever. Just
Right.
talk to her about What?
Well, we had an
Okay.
long, extensive talk about all the things
Okay.
that can happen. So we
Good.
did, we definitely did, and it was a talk. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't me screaming at her. It wasn't like a lecture. No, it wasn't. It was none of that. It was more like, this is the things that can happen, and I want you to be responsible. I was able to calm myself down after a few days and actually talk to her about it. But I just needed to talk to someone because there's so many feelings, and it's just like, it's it's an impulse it's impulse. I'm an impulsive person, but this is just, in general, it's an impulsive experience because
Yeah.
you have so many different emotions all in one. You're feeling sad, you're feeling happy, you're feeling confused, frustrated, anxious, like like not incompetent. Yes, like incompetent, because you're just like, oh my God, I'm not a good parent. Like, what do I do? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just so many different things. And it's rough. It's rough. But I do appreciate you talking to me about it. And I appreciate us being able to have this platform to talk about it as well. Cause I'm sure that I'm not the only person that is probably going through this right now.
Yeah. Your kids are going to grow up whether you're ready or not. So it's better to just, you know, start these conversations with them early, because as they grow up, they'll feel safer in coming to
Right,
you
right.
to discuss, and I'm not even a mom, but these are things I think about all the freaking time. Like,
You have no idea.
yeah.
You have no
And at
idea.
the end of the day, a really good girl. Like, I've seen
Thank
her
you.
compared to other girls her age. She's a really good girl. Like, my
No,
boyfriend and I have talked about it. Like, that girl's an angel. Like,
she's
her
really
mind
sweet. Thank you.
is very
Thank
pure,
you.
like you said, and she's a good girl. Don't be so strict with her.
I'm
She
not
kind of,
afraid of
and
her. That's the crazy part. Like, I'm
yeah,
not afraid of
you're
her.
afraid of
I'm
the
afraid of the
world.
world, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm afraid of the world. And I'm
But
just
just
like,
talk to her about how our mom started by telling us, don't let anybody touch this and this. I'm sure that prepared us, for, the
it did.
future.
That simple talk
I'm
did
sure
prepare
that's
us
why
for a
you and
lot
I, didn't have sex till, in our 20s,
later on, right?
so, and so those little conversations that you have with your parents at the end of the day do matter, and they have an impact on your life. And there are lessons that she's going to stumble upon and learn, and that's how she's going to grow. Unfortunately, because you want to protect her
Right.
from everything.
Oh, you're right.
But she, there comes a time where you kind of have to let go a little bit, so she's able to find herself and
Right,
grow up
right.
too.
Which is why, like, I know, I'm learning to give in slowly, which is why I gave in with the nails. I'm open to um respecting what she asked for, respecting her wishes, and just letting her discover herself and explore her femininity, because I'm here,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
She's a
it's
girl. She wants to be
yes.
girly. Like, I remember, like, I was gonna buy her makeup or something one time, and you were like, no makeup.
I was like, no, no.
So, and I'm like, but she likes makeup,
To be
So
fair, it was because she was like 7 and she wanted to walk outside with an entire, to be fair.
that's her hobby. That's what she likes. It's like kind of telling your kids, like, you're an artist. No, but you can't paint, you can't draw. This is what's important. Like, oh, you have an interest in makeup. Tell her, like, okay, at home you can practice, but when we go outside, you can't have makeup. I don't know.
Well,
That's
I
just
learned that
how.
later. I learned that later. Now she can do that. Now she's 11 and she knows. Actually, you know what? As a matter of fact, if I'm being honest, today before we went to the park, I told her, she's like, oh, I did my makeup. I was, playing with my makeup and I did my makeup. I was like, oh, you look beautiful. And I let her walk outside with it and everything. So I'm opening up to it. Just give me some time. I need a minute.
But you're getting there. You're getting
I'm
there.
getting there. I'm getting there. It's not easy to get there. I just tell you that. It's an entire freaky mental war. It is a mental war.
No, but thank you for coming on and being vulnerable. I know this is not an easy topic for you to talk about,
It
but
is
I'm
not.
sure there's other moms out there that needed to hear this, or that they also need to vent and tell us about their frustrations with their kids and how fast they're growing up. So if you
Yes.
do have those kind of moments or conversations that you want to talk about and you don't know how, Let's all vent. Let's all talk about it together. You guys can start the conversation by sending us a message or sending us an email. Our email is askus@stooptea.com. That's ask@stooptea.com.
There you go. And you can DM us on our Instagram. Follow us. And guys, don't just watch our videos, like our videos, share our videos. Please, we appreciate all of your support and we thank all of our listeners. And we just appreciate you guys in general. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. And we hope you guys have a great night. Bye.
Bye.